Hey there, this is Tim from Love Openly, where we help you to create your dream relationship. So today we're going to talk about loneliness. Okay, so I'm going to do a video on loneliness today, and the reason for that is because it's been something that I've been re-exploring myself. I'm going to go through 8 different things that I would suggest to you that I'm personally using at the moment to deal with it and overcome it. So the first one is, and this one might sound a bit crazy, but let me explain. So the first one is adopt a faith. Adopting some kind of faith that things are gonna be okay is really important for your well-being. I used to have a book by a guy called Steve Pinker called, I think it was called Why Do Zebras Have Stripes? And this was a book about the stress response in the body, and it was basically a book about stress and cortisol levels and this kind of thing. Now, one of the things that he looked at in that book was the effect of having belief in a higher power and the effect on the stress response. And what he found was that if you believe in a higher power, what that does is it lowers your cortisol level, it lowers your stress level, and it gives you amazing strength and amazing power to endure events because you interpret them as being part of, a grand plan. Now, this is important for loneliness because you want to develop a relationship with that belief, and that will give you a sense that even though you feel alone, through that belief it can help you to have a connection or create some kind of relationship with yourself. And that's the important part. It's about developing a relationship with yourself and learning to love yourself more. Okay, so here's the second thing. So removing addictions from your life. Now, when you're lonely, addictions can become a real problem. It's really easy when you're lonely to just throw yourself into all different kinds of distractions. So, it could be watching TV, it could be looking at porn, or it could be, any kind of addiction, alcohol, drugs, sex addiction, all of those things. It could be even something more subtle like, one for me that I sometimes struggle with is using my phone, browsing the internet a lot. All of these different things are just distractions to get you away from your loneliness, and what you really need to be doing is getting rid of those so that you can actually focus on the fact that you are experiencing this feeling of loneliness. So it's an important thing to do. You don't want to be running away. Okay, so number 3, so it is running away. So why are you running away, and why is that bad? Well, obviously we've got the addictions, but it's more about the fact that being lonely feels like crap, and it's just not a pleasant feeling at all. It's not something that anybody truly enjoys, except for the people that do, and they don't call that loneliness, they call that solitude. So isn't it interesting that some people enjoy their loneliness? And I think for me, in all the times that I've had a partner and I've got time to spend on myself, then, that has been an enjoyable time, and I've enjoyed the chance to explore different things that I couldn't otherwise do. The difference, though, is when you're lonely, you don't have that as an option. You're stuck with it. So even if you're bored or, you've had enough and you're like, I'm sick of being on my own, I want to be with someone, then all of a sudden you can't, and it becomes a sense of being like you're in prison. It just doesn't feel good. But the thing is, it's really important that you don't run away, because if you start running away from yourself, then that obviously exacerbates the addictions that you have, but also it just makes the feeling that much worse. So you have to run towards the feelings that you have, and you have to explore them. Okay, so number 4 is meditation. How do you explore your feelings? Well, the simplest way is to take up meditation. That's what I've been trying to do, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can just be sitting there and sitting in the moment and being with yourself, and experiencing that feeling of loneliness, experiencing what it feels like, and just not necessarily trying to understand why you feel that way, but it's more a case of just sitting with it and experiencing it and accepting it. And this is a good time through meditation, through sitting with yourself, through spending time with yourself, to forgive yourself and accept it and say, like, this is okay, I can love myself. And you have to do it for some time. Obviously it's not easy in the beginning. I can definitely tell you that. Over the last 2 months, for example, I went on a Vipassana meditation course, and it was just very difficult. So I wouldn't advise going on some crazy meditation course. I would just say, especially if it's something that's really bugging you, just sit down and just work on it for a short period each day until over time it starts to get better. So number 5 is anxiety. So this is something that will come out if you do sit with yourself and you do meditate. You'll start to see that there is a link between your loneliness and the anxiety that you feel. And anxiety is one of the things that stops us from going out to meet people, going out to socialize, going out to work on our loneliness. So that's one of the things that holds us back, and that's what you want to be trying to explore. Now, I mean, when I was, a bit about anxiety for me, from my experience, when I was about 16 or 17, I started to suffer from really bad anxiety, and it started to manifest in panic attacks. And actually, over the last, I had that, and then I got over it. I went into lots of depression for many years after that, but then I came out the other side. And actually, recently, in the last 2 months, when I started to delve into this lonely side of my life again, like more recently, I have started to have a lot less minor, but some small panic attacks. And I found this very fascinating, because what I realized was that this anxiety that I was experiencing was actually part of me kind of going through this shift. It's kind of like a shift in my identity that was going on, and the anxiety that I was experiencing was basically me it was from me kind of shedding off old parts of my personality, and then having to live with the fact that I had no idea how to cope now without those kind of security mechanisms. And I think, I don't know if this is going to be the same for you, but for me that's definitely how anxiety seems to manifest. It's this kind of it's kind of almost this call to action for myself. It's me going through the process of having to learn to cope with new aspects of life in new ways, because the old ways that I had are no longer working. Okay, number 6. So number 6 is reward yourself. Now, when you're lonely, like, you need to look after yourself. You need to make sure that you feel good. You need to make sure that, it's okay. You need to tell yourself that it's okay. For example, today, it's at the weekend here, and I went to a local kind of eatery, and I bought myself a meal, and I sat down and I ate that meal, and it's more money than I would normally spend. But I had it, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a really nice experience, and it was a reward for me to say, like, well done to myself for having done a good job this week, for dealing with my anxiety and my loneliness and exploring it and accepting it and forgiving myself. And buying that meal was basically like an act of self-love, and it just felt really great. And I think it's really important to do this when you're lonely. You really, really want to be thinking of ways to make yourself feel good. But at the same time, you don't want to do it in a way where it leads into addiction, say like food addiction or all these sorts of things. You want to do it for the work, the emotional work that you're working on to deal with your loneliness. Okay, number 7. This one is move somewhere new. So not everyone's going to take this up, but I found actually this made a huge difference in my life. I'm in an area at the moment, having come back to the UK. I was living in Vietnam before, and what I found is that if you're struggling with trying to meet people where you live, then moving to somewhere new is like an amazing way to change that. If you feel stuck, you'll be surprised how a different change of location can completely change everything. So for me, like, I went all the way across the world and I went to Vietnam, and they have a completely different culture around social interaction. And it's impossible to be lonely there. That's how I felt. Like, you cannot walk down the street without there being somebody there. Contrast that with the UK where I am, and most of the streets are completely empty most of the time. People don't really leave their houses unless they have somewhere to go. So it's a very different experience. Here in the UK, and I know in the US, like, there's a lot less human contact. People just don't touch each other because, I don't know, maybe they're worried about harassment or whatever. It's just culturally, it's just not the same. I mean, in Vietnam, they don't like public displays of affection, but even so, the fact that you're just surrounded by people all the time just makes a huge difference. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. If you're struggling to meet people where you are, try a new location. Okay, so number 8 is actually meet people. So, there's a lot of videos on this channel about how to go out and meet people. I've done a 30-day series on it. Lydia's done a 30-day series on it, and there's lots of information in there to help you if you want to watch that, to help you to meet people. But like, how you meet people, I think the way to do it is you just have to start off with making a commitment to actually go out and do it. And it's really difficult when you're lonely, and it's really difficult when you have anxiety, because it's just the last thing you want to do, and you're just telling yourself, well, what's the point? Why should I even bother? It's just a waste of time. But you just have to push through that. It's the only thing that you can do. You have to make that initial commitment. You have to say to yourself, like, look, this problem's not going to get fixed unless I fix it. You have to just say that to yourself, and you might tell yourself that you're comfortable being on your own, and that's fine, and you can just do it forever, but it's never going to change unless you change it. And really think about this, and just I think there's definitely a part of you that says, I can go out and I could meet someone if I really wanted to. And that's not to say that it won't be easy, but if you make that commitment, you can get on the path to completely changing life. I remember back when I was in my teen years, and I used to literally sit indoors all day making music, playing computer games, and I did it for like 10, 12 years or something. I just hardly ever went out. I was very lonely at that time. And I remember at one point I just decided I couldn't take it anymore, and I deleted all of my computer games, all of my music that I've meticulously collected over many, many years. And I just said, look, I need to change this. I've got to do it. I sold my graphics card and my computer, and then that commitment completely, totally and utterly changed my life. It just made an absolute huge difference to the path and course of my life. This you wouldn't be watching this video now if I hadn't made that commitment. It led to me doing all sorts of things, like doing door-to-door sales and doing lots of different jobs to learn social skills, communicating with people. I had this job where I was talking to 400 people in the street every single day, and it would just completely transform my life. And it all happened because I made a commitment to meet people. So this is your chance now to make that commitment to meet some people. Okay, so that's 8 things that you can do. It's a pretty long video, but I hope there was some stuff in here that you can benefit from and apply to your own life. For me, like, going through this experience again of loneliness was actually really important for me and for this channel, because I wanted to make sure that the Love Openly project that I'm working on isn't just an excuse to escape loneliness, because it could be. I'm working on developing up, helping people with their relationships, helping them to love themselves more. And I'm really glad that I spent this time working through this period when I was on my own. I've been doing it for about 2 months now. I've got another month or so to go, and yeah, like, it's really confirmed in my mind that, like, why people are important in your life, and you just need to have people in your life. Like, it's something that's important as people, as humans. Human beings need other human beings. We're social animals, and that's just how it is. So yeah, please do go out if you're lonely. Please change that. Anyway, I hope you like this video. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you have any other ideas on how to deal with loneliness or how to deal with anxiety and social anxiety, please do make a comment about it, because other people read the comments, I read the comments, and I can always make videos on it if you have some questions. So see you later, see you in the next video.